Mm. Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just emailing those guys right now.
thanks. I hope this is
Yes.
just a case of their new members and maybe it's not easy for them to get. They're not used to
Yeah,
it. or
learning
what.
curve. They probably like, I mean, I can't tell you how easy it is for me to bury stuff in my email.
And I said to him, it was sent previously, check your email, including your junk, and we'll just see. I think it's just
Yeah.
three gentlemen.
Yes. All right. Well, that's sent. And then everyone should have got like conversation email from me saying the meeting link for Atlantic Times today. And I just said, please make sure our emails aren't going to spam. I just said I try to limit these, although I mean people can start conversations in the Google group if they want. Everyone gets an email when people do that though. Yeah, I see here he was asking where's the link to join. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, they'll either figure it out or they won't.
Yeah, right. So,
Okay.
oh,
All right. I'll be right back, okay?
yep. Oh no. Now we got
Howdy.
hello, Art. Now, Isaac, I would have thought your first name is Isaac. Is your first name Isaac or Excellent?
It's excellent.
Your first name is Excellent. Thank you.
Yes,
I
yes.
had it inverted. Hello, I'm glad you're with us today.
Thank you.
Give me a second because there's a lot of people trying to get in. A lot of people also having trouble with the links. And so very distracted today. Excellent. We'll start in a few minutes.
Okay, okay.
Hello, Mike.
Oh, hi, Mike.
How you
Hold
doing
on.
today?
Thank you. Good.
Good.
Yeah.
What we'll find is, and for some reason, Ellen finds this humorous. We've got many mics in here, so we're gonna have to come. I prefer to go by Mike. Obviously, you do too as well. I don't know. I'm not sure if anybody goes by Michael here yet. So anyway, We'll start in a
My-
few
My
minutes.
nephew goes by Michael, so
Oh, okay.
You can call me Ray, or you can call me Jay. No, you can call me a Chera if you want. I don't care.
I'm a little distracted. We got quite a few new people. We got a lot of things going on. Excellent. I will say that there was one that flashed up, and I think it was Osinakachi, and then it disappeared. So I'm waiting for several more people. I believe the other gentleman's name is Onwuka Frederick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I'm watching to see if anybody else tries to jump on here.
Okay.
I see Dr. Sharif is logging in. That's good.
Yes, yeah, he was having trouble finding the link too. That's okay. You know what? That is strange. It's a very strange time for him to be joining. While we wait, guys, of course, I've split it into the Atlantic and Pacific because we got people around the globe, and the gentleman we're talking about, Dr. Sharif, is in Bangladesh, and it has to be like
3
the
in the
middle of the
morning.
night.
Yeah.
That's the reason we're alternating, is to try to make it easier for different people. A side note, Alan, by the way, guys, we got a series of podcasts going on. About 3 straight weeks, every day we're on a podcast with a place. Dr. Sharif's going to be on, and he's going to, Alan, he's going to sign on his time 2 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? Doesn't sound right.
I can. Yeah.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah, that's right.
Join.
Mike Achera, did you get an invitation?
Yes, that's why I'm here, I believe.
Well, I mean, I just sent you one by text like 15 minutes ago. But
Yeah, but I had the link. I had the link from what's her face on my mail.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's
Well,
all right.
Yeah, here.
Laura.
Laura.
Yeah, that's where I get the link from.
Yeah, okay, super. I just want to make sure you had made it to
But
the district.
yeah, I don't think I'm an interloper.
Yes.
All the bots are about to start joining us.
But I
Yep.
did imagine. I said, I wonder if the FBI is going to be taking names. I was like wondering about that. Like, am I going to join something? I'm going to knock on the door saying,
Oh, of course. This is why we have folks like Alora from Canada. Excellent. Are you Nigerian? I'm trying to remember which country you're from. Excellent.
Yeah, from Nigeria, Southeast.
Okay.
You Nigerians name your kids well. There's a kid that was in a yesterday, I think at a pitch competition. He was a high school student from Nigeria, and his name was Triumphant. Triumphant.
Nice.
Wow.
They named that kid, and his business was like Triumphant something care. But he put his name. It was very funny.
Very good.
Wow, wow.
Mike,
He was offering French. His thing was it was an app for teaching people French or translating for businesses for French employees.
Okay.
That's what his
Wow.
business model was.
nice. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. That's great.
Mike Achera, I got a question for you. And that is about the summary of the questions. First, a statement. I either underestimated the task or way overestimated my abilities, but I did create a summary of the answer to the first question. What is the singularity? And do we want to talk about that today, or wait on that, or do you want me to mail it out, or how would you like that handled?
Who are you asking?
Mike DeVerde.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could have
Right.
swore you
I don't
said
have an
Mike
opinion.
Sheriff.
Yeah.
I knew we were going to have this problem.
Just call me Jack. Call me Jack from now on. Okay, I'm Jack.
Oh, okay.
Well, now that I know you're talking to me, what the hell are you talking about?
I summarized the first question, the answers to the first question. I don't know if I overestimated my abilities or underestimated the task, but I got 1 out of 8 done anyway.
This is Delphi method you're talking about.
Yes, the Delphi method. And yeah, for those of you that don't know, we did a Delphi method, which is a way to sort of hash through issues created by the Rand Corporation over 50 years ago. Anyway, we set out a series of questions, 8 questions and sub questions, and got them back. And I have the first one summarized pretty concisely, or kind of the first series of questions. And so anyway, that one is ready to share. And I'm thinking maybe we ought to send those back out one at a time, because the 8-question survey is kind of overwhelming, I think, to the folks. So maybe we want to talk once, or have people answer this one, and I can send one out every few days, so they're not totally overwhelming. Oh,
Yeah.
here come the other bots.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, we've got like 100 things going on at once. So if you're asking me questions, dude, this is probably the wrong time.
Okay.
I'm not keeping up with all of it, and I'm a little concerned. I don't see Yosinakachi yet, so I know that seemed to me he wanted to join.
Since I'm in the question asking mode, I got one for Laura. Can you add my Firefly bot to the list of bots?
How do I do that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
How'd these other folks get on there?
It didn't just automatically join, maybe because our last ones had a waiting room and it didn't seem to stop any of the bots.
Oh, well, I might have clicked. I got in trouble for having my bot attend a meeting I wasn't at. And so I think I might have adjusted the settings to respect the waiting
Yeah.
room. Yeah.
Totally understand that. I was kind of worried about that at my job too, because mine, we have Zoom meetings every week and it's confidential, so
Yes.
can't be bringing my Firefly.
All right. I will.
So I got Yosinakachi's attention. He does say he has it. And let's see, who am I missing here? Okay, so excellent is here, and on look. How am I probably going to say his first name? Anybody want to suggest Onwuka? Excellent. You want to help me out on Onwuka? Is that how I say it? Do you know
Okay.
him?
Yeah,
Say it
it's
again.
Onwuka. It's Onwuka. Onwuka.
Onwuka. Am I close?
Onwuka. Onwuka.
On
Yeah.
Wuka.
Onwuka.
Onwuka.
Emphasis on the U, on Wuka.
Okay.
Yeah.
Onwuka.
On Wuka.
Thank you.
Anwuka. That sounds more samurai.
Yeah.
Hello, David. We're still gathering. Give me a moment. We got Ben Ballwig about to join us.
Right on.
Hello. Right. Hello, Ben. If I start talking, it's almost certain that Yosinakachi will join, and then I'll be distracted. So I want to give him, look at just a couple more minutes here. We're close, folks. We're close. Well, yeah, we'll at least start. Hello, everyone. Reminder, we are being recorded. Of course, you're all reminded as we started this. Forgive me for my relaxed posture. It's been a brutal week at work, and I'm just exhausted. Glad to see you all here today. One of the things we're going to start with is the new members. Micah, Sarah, Excellent Isaac. We have 2 more that I'm waiting for them to join. Someone who's not usually here, Dr. Sharif, has joined us. So welcome everybody. Micah, Sarah, why don't you lead off and tell us all a little bit about yourself, what you do and what you're up to.
Hi guys. Old friends at Allen's. We've co-written works together before, and my background is formal art training. I did 2 years of aerospace engineering, and moved to Maine after college. Lived in a yurt in the woods, studied nature, read my Buckminster Fuller, who I'm a big fan of, and later on, my wife and I got together and invented a construction toy that's based on fractal geometry and deeper engineering principles, and that's what we do now. We sell a construction block.
What is the name of the block again?
It's called Lux Blocks, LUXB as in boy, LOX.com. It's a hermaphroditic pinless hinge. So when you snap the same plastic as Lego together, it morphs into like buckyballs and fractal geometry, and it corrugates plastic. So like Elon's rockets uses sheet metal but when you bend sheet metal, it makes structure. Of course, we use the same principles. So instead of stacking things, you're making membranes and folding them and getting structures, so you can get more performance out of the plastic.
Very
It
good.
ain't bricks.
Yeah,
Ain't
one
bricks.
more time, the name of the company.
It's Lux Blocks is the name of the company, LLC.
There, very, very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy you're here today, and we'll switch over to Excellent Isaac. Excellent. Why don't you tell us all a little bit about yourself, my friend?
Okay. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Excellent Isaac. I'm a chemical engineer, and I also have interest and currently in the pharmaceutical industry. I also run a real estate business where we help people to create wealth through real estate. So I also run an NGO named Isaac Excellent Empowerment Foundation. So where we run leadership and entrepreneurship, then we also run climate and energy. We educate people on climate and energy, and more work we do in the foundation as an NGO. So this is a little bit summary of what I do. So though there are couples of many things that I'm into, but they're just to save time, and subsequently we'll get to know ourselves more better.
Very good. Can you tell us where in Nigeria you are?
I'm in Lagos, precisely, Lagos State.
Okay. So
Yeah.
very good. So the time zone works for you. Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Micah Chera, is that how I would say the last name? Achera?
It is a Chera, yes, sir. Mhm.
Yeah. Where are you located, my friend?
Galesburg, Illinois, near Peoria.
You're good. I grew up in Northern Illinois. So
Oh,
I know
where?
Woodstock.
Okay, I used to live in Barrington. We weren't far from you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. We're coming back like maybe a weekend from now. My wife is having one of those birthdays with a 0 at the end. We won't say the first number. And so we're going to be there in Illinois. And then we're going to go down to Southern Illinois for the solar eclipse. So
Oh, nice.
I understood from one of my colleagues at work who works in Chicago that you had some snow yesterday. Is that true?
North of us. It definitely Northern Illinois got snow.
Wow. Okay. Well, very good. Thank you so much for telling us a little bit about yourselves and joining us. I'm sorry for the kind of rough start that we've had over the last few weeks. It turns out that I've had an extraordinary level of work to do, a lot of very challenging assignments lately. And so I'm kind of just worn out. I've got a lot of things going on. So the last few weeks I've been a little bit chaotic. Things will smooth out a little bit. I want to remind everybody real quickly what the purpose of the group is. The OmniFuturists. Go ahead, Alora. You raise your hand.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you mid-sentence though. Okay, so back to Mike. I just wanted to know if you could give a link to the toys that you make in the chat.
Yeah.
because
sure.
I do play therapy with kids. That's my job. And I would love to buy a set
I'll
to
send it you
use
right
in my therapy. So yeah, thank you. That's all. That's all. Oh, and I'm just gonna put this for Alan. This is I'm not quite sure how to add the Firefly spot. So it's got like a 4-step instructions there. If you can find something on your dashboard.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll sign into my actual Zoom account here and see if I can. Yeah, so that is your invention, hey? That's
Yes.
awesome.
Mhm,
That's
fun.
awesome. I'm gonna buy some.
Yes,
We'll use them
if
in
you want to send me an
Canada.
email, I can recommend something, or otherwise you can just peruse the site
Yeah.
yourself and figure it out.
I'll send you an email then. We'll talk about it.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Mhm.
I think we're all gonna want to know more about your business, Mike. Yeah, so what all I want to do is really quickly remind everybody what the purpose of the group was. A couple years ago, I read Callum Chase's book, Economic Singularity. It was a very compelling description of how cognitive automation, robots and AI are going to start replacing humans, mostly because they could be more cost effective. They can work around the clock. They don't need vacations or sick time or whatever. And the cost effectiveness of them in a capitalist environment, they clearly are going to take some jobs. The debate is about how many. And one of the false narratives that, in my opinion, is that this will be just like the other technological revolutions that we've had, the Industrial Revolution, where people just found new jobs to do. And the difference this time is the previous versions were mechanization. This one is cognitive automation, in which you have to imagine not what we have today, but a few years from now when it's able to reason as well as most humans. And I'm not necessarily talking about AGI. I'm talking about some relatively basic decision-making processes that aren't very far away from being realized. The current generative AI scored 90% on the bar. Okay, if they're doing better than 90% of the lawyers in this country, sorry, but we're really close to a point where they can make relatively simple decisions that most of us do at work. And unfortunately, a lot of the discussions have drifted towards the esoterics, the groundbreaking research in nuclear physics. Well, they won't be able to do that. Well, that's not what most people do. Okay. Most people have a pretty simple set of decisions that they make on a daily basis. And if you get a fairly today's close to today's version of generative automation, machine intelligence, it's going to be able to do your job for you, probably for less money. As soon as some of the creative stuff came out, then I saw the plumbers and the electricians giggling that, okay, the paper pusher, white collar guys are going to lose it. Well, there's no way that that AI is going to be able to do some plumbing. And the difference I'm going to point out to you is you watch some of the humanoid robots that are rapidly accelerating from multiple directions. Some are now being introduced on car assembly lines, at warehouses. They've got hands. They're starting to get sensory perceptions. They're multimodal. I think it's a short period of time. My version is much less than 5 years. We're going to have the economic singularity hit. I have a way of measuring that. It's my own measure. No one else has said this. But instead of just kind of vaguely saying the economic singularity, for me, it means US unemployment above 10%, and it never declines below that ever again. Plus, the US male participation rate drops below 50%. And for both of those measures, I'm using the Federal Reserve numbers. Why am I saying that? Number one, the unemployment rate is quite deceiving. You drop off the unemployed rolls fairly quickly. The long-term unemployed are no longer counted. Once you drop off of benefits after so many weeks, then you aren't counted. If you look at the 50-year trend with the US male participation rate, it's dropped, and I'm doing this from memory, so I'll give you guys charts later, but on the order of 85% to 65% at the current point. And I think it's going to drop below 50% relatively quickly. Part of that was due to offshoring, but part of it is due to automation as well. So I have a very pessimistic view. Now, what happened is I have a very dismal view of how slanted most groups are. There's tremendous groupthink, and somebody will join a group because they think the same way that they do, and they all gather together and agree on the same thing. And I don't like that approach. So what I thought I might do is try to find people with very diverse views, assemble an array of diverse views from all the people who could be reasonable in an environment like that, and start to have discussions and examine multiple different ways that we could approach this. Because if, let's say, the Callum Chases and Daniel Susskind and Aaron Bastani are correct, and there is going to be colossal tidal waves of permanent technological unemployment, it might be good to talk about it before it happens and think about maybe what we should do. Because when I looked around a few years ago, no one was discussing, not only no one was discussing the economic singularity, certainly no one was talking about what to do about it. Okay. So one of the requirements, of course, is one of our members is a pretty hardcore communist. Some of them are anarchist, capitalist, and caps. When you get these sorts of very opposite opinions, things can become heated. Sometimes people take those things personally, and the arguments can become destructive. So the number one rule in a group like this is we have to be respectful of each other. We have to be able to listen to somebody who says something that you think maybe is outrageous or offensive, and listen calmly. I'm bad at this, by the way. I was dropping F-bombs at work the other day because of some of the arguments we were having, okay? So I'm learning a new technique. I'm exercising a different muscle with this group. So the point here is for all of us to think carefully about what we want to do, what we would suggest. There's several different ways that we can approach that. One is talk about it. That's what we do here on a weekly basis. The other is write about it. And as you know, we have published our first book. It is out there. We're starting to have some sales. Continuing with the talking, we're now running a 3-week cycle of podcasts where different authors and members of the U.S. Transhumanist Party are getting on there and discussing aspects of the economic singularity. I don't think that either talking or writing is sufficient. And what I want to do is do things. We're not ready to actually do things, but we're starting to think about what could we do to make a difference in the economic singularity and the outcome. And I'll close with this. I do not think the economic singularity is a permanent condition. I suspect that we go from the era that we're in today to an era of the economic singularity, which, just for talking purposes, let's say it's 10 years, in which there's misery, high unemployment. The US federal government is unprepared for this. Similar to the Great Depression, people kind of wander around. A lot of them die. A lot of them don't have healthcare, food, or housing. And at the end of that period, my hope is that artificial superintelligences are able to provide a plan, that they're able to control the build of the cognitive automation, the robotics, the factories, to start pumping out a flourishing superabundance. This is a phrase from our friend David Wood. There's a tendency in some of the books for them to talk about the trend of prices is towards zero. There's a lot of things that are following that trend. Not all, we know that, but a lot of them are getting cheaper and cheaper as time goes by. And if you do have millions of robots pumped out by the Chinese or by Tesla or by some of these robots figure, or some of these huge, colossal artificial intelligences from OpenAI or Microsoft or you name the company, Google, right? That if things go well, perhaps we have this flourishing superabundance. We don't have to work. We have enough food. We have proper housing. We have good healthcare. And you'll see in the book things like universal basic means of production, universal basic services, universal basic income. There's a wide variety of possible approaches, and this is what we're here to discuss. Okay, so I said that would be a brief overview of the group, and that's typical of me. I ramble, I can't be succinct. Any comments or questions about that, like summary? Open it up.
Well, I put in the chat there humorously, of course, that we're thinking about planning to talk about taking under consideration subjects that may contain elements of what some people call the economic singularity. So yeah, actions are being taken. Just saying, that's how the government would phrase it. But yeah, I think there's lots of ways to sort of mitigate these things. I mean, Lux Blocks is a toy to help kids get smarter, right? That's just one way. Mike DeVerde, you've talked about helping house the homeless. I mean, that's a really important consideration. I volunteer at a food bank, but again, I think that's one of those situations like, okay, we give away free food, which is donated by grocery stores and restaurants because it's past its expiration date, which may or may not be needed, which is required by the government. Like, salt has an expiration date. I'm like, really? Sat in the ground for centuries, and now that it's in a bottle, it's got an expiration date. But that just keeps it. I mean, it keeps the shelves turning, keeps the economy turning, and it's a piece of legislation that fits into that. So, oh well, now they got to get rid of it, but they don't want to just reduce the price because I don't know, for whatever, they would rather just give it away. It's like maybe if you had a variety of prices, like fresh bread's $1 and day-old bread is 90 cents, and when it gets down to 30 cents a loaf, maybe after that it just goes to the birds. But yeah, I think there's lots of ways that we can influence the course of human events, and I'll stop.
I think so. We have not seen her for a long time. A very good friend of ours is here, now Vice President, Maura Abad. Maura, you raise your hand, go for it.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Greetings. I have to say, I miss you so much, everybody. And yes, life is like that. When you want something that you get it, and now, okay, welcome to the show, the position that you wanted the most, and you can barely see me because I am diving deep into study and being in the position. So I appreciate all of you to welcome me. Like I have never left. That's the way I feel. So I thank you. I consider you all my family. So I'm really, really happy to see you all. I'm a little bit under the weather. That's what I'm not placing my computer, my camera, but I have a lot to say. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Yes, things that I have experienced. I'm in Nebraska. I'm broadcasting from Nebraska today. And a week ago, I went to Walmart to buy something quickly. I wanted to go to the self-checkout. That's what I use, like you said, automation people. I chose the automation, go in and out. And then they were closed, all of them. And the lady, I said, what happened, And she's like, no, they told us to close, so we have people working. That was her answer. To me, that was interesting. Then the same happened in the airport, in Omaha. Same reply when I went to pay with the fancy automation. The human was there. So, just for what it's worth, I wanted to say that. Also, gratefulness every day. And we are very blessed that in this group, we can be talking about these topics, because if we go back to the pyramid of needs, Maslow, I consider we are in the self-actualization, that we can talk about these topics. And I say that because when Alan, you said we're going to be planning to do things and talking about it, number one, we need to consider the audience. There is a big population that needs to listen to the message, and they don't have all the resources or the way to do that. So I do think we need to identify what is that audience. Are we talking to people that already know this, or is our audience people that we need to tap into it? And then I will say the message in that regard, which I don't think I'm going to say anything out of in the marketing proposal offer. It is fear sales, and this is a thing that you need to get into the program, right? It's already here. I don't think it's coming. People said, oh, the future is later. The future is now. So this is here. So I do think that in what you're all doing on the broadcasting, facts matter, and numbers matter, and the situation matters. So instead of get people worried, is the reality. We should all be worried. So kind of getting that message in fear, but at the same time, it's not fearful message, it's a realistic message. And that's what you said. No, I'm pessimist. I said, you're not pessimist. I wrote, you are realistic. So that's all I wanted to bring to the picture, that the message needs to be concise, precise, and hit the people. But what is the audience? Thank you.
Sure. So when just as a background, when I started the group 2 years ago, our expectation was it might be at least 10 years, maybe 20 years away, and we had plenty of time to prepare. And then generative AI has swept through headlines. So even though we anticipated no one would really be interested in this topic, it has become quite a topic across the country. So our timing was kind of good in terms of just making sure that we've got people who at least have heard part of the story. What they have more than likely heard, if anything, was AI or the bots are coming to take your job, and almost nothing about what could be done about it. So sorry, all I've heard so far is a lot of fear, or don't worry about it, it'll be fine, just like the last time. Kind of patronizing people. There is something we have to be concerned about in that area, is some folks in the effective altruist camp really want to bring on this sort of tidal wave of technological advancement and the turmoil to get past this to a better future. And so it might be in their best interest if everyone was kind of patronizingly told it's going to be okay. You're going to get this magic money in the mail, even if you lose your job, and you'll be fine. And I'm not, this is where you're going to hear some of my pessimism is, I don't think anybody's going to be ready. If you watch our Senate struggle to pass a normal yearly spending bill, how are they going to handle this? I don't think they even know it's coming. Now let's go on to the next topic, if you guys don't mind. And by the way, with so many of us, what Maura did in raising her hand is probably what you got to do.
Yeah,
Or else
otherwise,
you're gonna have just total chaos if people just speak. The next thing on the agenda is kind of a surprise for me. I was going through and starting to send notes out about all our podcasts, and I went to this thing, Threads. I've never been in there before, and there's a note from like a year and a half ago from Callum Chase, and I went, "Oh no!" the guy who wrote the book we were apparently in contact a year and a half ago, and I never saw it. So the other day I wrote to him and I said, "I just saw this, man. We would love to have some time with you." And he said, "Yeah." So on April 20th, on a Saturday, he will be here in person. I was trying to arrange for David Wood to simultaneously be here with us. David is going to be on the other side of the planet, and the time zones aren't going to work. I can't remember if it was New Zealand or where he's going to be, but he is also going to be here. So, pardon me, David Wood is not going to be here. That is something that I would like to ask everybody to think about. Okay, What sort of really well-phrased questions would you like to have for Callum Chase, the guy who, I don't know, was it 7 years ago, published a book, so he must have written it 8 years ago, saying, there's a possibility that a lot of jobs could disappear as the AI gets better. This is a guy who had a type of foresight that is, for me, kind of unusual. Um, uh, he's teaming up with David Wood on the London Futurists podcast. He has a lot of interviews with a lot of very powerful and influential people. So we would like to use some of the highest quality questions you can think of. So it's a month away, right? Spend some time thinking about some of the questions, and we'll probably give it to him in advance so we can at least know these are the things we want to know since you wrote that book 8 years ago. Hold on a second. Anmuka says he can't hear me. I don't think I can help him. Can anybody? He just joined on Wuka. I think I'm getting it close. Am I close?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, he just texted me that he can't hear me. So I don't know that I can really help him. Perhaps in the chat, while I babble, maybe somebody can
Luca,
try
can you hear others? Is it just Mike you can't hear?
text him. See if he responds in the chat. Okay, there we go. Thanks, guys. I'll keep babbling. You try to help him with his technical issues. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, so that's for me. This is a great event. By the way, I've tried to get Aaron Bastani, who wrote Fully Automated Luxury Communism. We would like to have David Susskind, who wrote The World Without Work, which was heavily recommended by David Wood. I read it and it was excellent. There's a series of people who have in the past written about this topic, and we've read their books. One at a time, we'll try to get them. I see Anwoka. Can you hear us yet, dude? You're not responding. You're not muted, so you must still not hear me. I'm going to wave at everybody. Wave at Anwuka. Okay. Hey, all right. He waved back. Okay, we'll use sign language from now on. Okay. All right. So, Excellent and Anwuka have both mentioned that sometimes the internet is kind of flaky. Excellent. Would you say that's true? Sometimes your internet is not that good. Your electrical power sometimes is not that good. Is that true?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And it may be a case where his cell connection for his smartphone is just not fully operational. I don't know. I won't say anything as silly as turn the volume up, right? That would be, I do that sort of thing, by the way. Okay. Let's go on to the next topic. Book sales. Okay, so we just started selling this stuff. Last night, Alan gave me some data on the sales of the books. I don't have the data in front of me, but I believe our current royalties is like $96. We may have sold like 32-ish, 33 books so far. What I've noticed is a pattern of after podcasts, there's sales, which kind of makes sense. You got out of all of the people listening, some of them will go ahead and spend $5 and read the book, right? It's going slowly. None of us want to make a lot of money off of it. Next steps are, and I want to talk through this slowly. On Amazon, we're locked in for 90 days, is what I understood, Alan. They're the only ones that can offer the book. It's an ebook. You can pay $5 and just own it outright, or Kindle Unlimited. You can read it for free. And apparently our royalties are by per page, where Amazon is watching how many pages they turn in their version, and we get a fraction of a cent for each one. So all of them have been outright sales. At the end of 90 days, which is May 1st-ish, I'm going to release the PDF for free on our website. I hear Onwuka. Do you hear us, dude?
Yeah, exactly.
Ha!
I tell you. Good
Good.
evening, everyone.
Hi.
Fine, I'm fine.
Good. Good. We'll come back to you in just a few minutes. Do me a favor and hit the mute for us now. Thank you, dude. We'll come back to you in a little bit. All right. So what I'm planning to do is release the PDF in English for free on our website, and I'm going to set it up so that we can watch to see. We're going to sell it for 0 or a penny or whatever, and just have a count of how many free PDFs go out. And this is the offer we're going to make to everyone. I know that Dr. Sharif is interested in this option. It's going to be open source, and therefore anybody can take it and use it for however they wish, as long as they leave our names and titles in English on one of the pages. Okay, that's going to be the only requirement. Dr. Sharif, for example, is going to translate it into his native language in Bangla, I believe, for Bangladesh, and sell it or give it away. We don't care. We want, the point of this book is to get the word out, to get people talking about it and thinking about what should we do about this. We don't want people dying and starving. We're mostly transhumanists. Most of us believe in super longevity. The last thing we want is a lot of people dying. Okay, so we want to get that out. Excellent. If you know anybody who's interested in translating it into any of the languages there that may be more useful perhaps than English, that's get the word out. Anyone can take it for free and translate it into any language. I work with some Brazilian engineers, so I'm trying to find some Brazilians who are interested in doing this, and they'll translate it to Portuguese. My children are my children's mother is Mexican, so there'll probably be someone in that extended family who wants to translate it into Spanish. So anyway, the whole point is to get it out there and get the world talking. Anybody have any comments or questions about any of that about the books? All right. Podcasts. Podcasts are next. So we're on a podcast broadcast out of KGRA is the radio station. The specific show is the Rundown Live. The podcast host is known to us in the transhumanist community, Kristan T. Harris. His podcast is called The Rundown Live. Hold on a second. We got this may be Osinakachi. We've had a solid week of podcasts now. It's gone very well, and of those 5 podcasts, we've had over 1,500 views. You guys have done great. It started with Alan. I'm going to forget the sequence of who was on there, and I should know better than this. Go ahead, Alan. Unmute.
Just going through it in my own head. Alan, Art, Tom Ross, Mike Sines, and that was the first week. So,
Well, no, Gennady went last night.
oh, and then
Friday.
I
Yeah.
didn't know. Okay.
Well, neither did he.
I missed that.
Yeah, neither did he. What happened is he was doing a pre-record, but they pre-recorded it live on Friday, and it's going to be shown on one of the other sites Monday. Okay, so
Okay, excellent.
so that is going exceedingly well. One of the things that you have to understand from his perspective, I talked him into 3 solid weeks of economic singularity. Every day for 3 weeks, he's talking economic singularity. And so that's kind of let's say, a monotonous topic for his audience. Therefore, he's encouraging people to embrace alternate topics as well. In addition to whatever you talk about for economic singularity. For instance, in my case, I'm going to be talking about a little bit about space travel, a little bit about artificial intelligence, a little bit about super longevity. we'll have to see what the different topics are, but and then there'll be folks on there like Bruce Davis is probably going to talk primarily about aliens, UFOs. That's one of his interests. So as you guys go on, remember to have a few side topics. I think it's going very well, and we'll have to see what it does for interest in the problems that we're facing. Any comments or questions about podcasts? I'm going to stop here for a second.
Good evening from Nigeria. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead on. Go ahead, talk, dude.
Sorry for coming late. I was busy doing something. I think this is a nice podcast, but we need to know how to streamline this that could reach countries that are not really they are out of reach. You understand? Everything that we are doing should be based on reaching the wider audience, not just we as a whole, so that everybody can benefit. So you are talking about language translation. I think that is a good point there. In Africa, here we have diverse tongues and tribes here. So it will be better for we to do that here in Africa, where we can easily penetrate the idea of transhumanism and, as you said, now economic singularity. I have an idea. I don't know, maybe the idea is okay. Why can't we have something like empathy singularity when we're having economic singularity? Singularity in the sense that empathy singularity in the sense that we are measuring the empathy of humans and that of machine. So it will form a singularity, which I called empathy singularity. So for now, let me stop.
Okay, so is the word you're using empathy?
Empathy singularity, like merging machine empathy with that of human.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Singularity.
So let me try to rephrase it, make sure that I understand where you're going with this is you're looking for a unification, humans and machines, productive and positive. Am I in the right direction?
Yes.
So I think let's stop for a second. Maura, I see your hand to do Onwuka and Osinakachi for just a minute. Onwuka, I'd like you to, number one, introduce yourself. Talk about where you are and what you're doing. I like your suggestion, and I like your idea about getting the word out. So, for example, if there are podcasts that you like, that you would like someone to appear on, let us know, okay? But tell us about yourself.
Briefly about myself. My name is Owonka Frederick Eyin Naya. I'm from Nigeria, from the Igbo tribe in Nigeria. I'm in my final year studying mathematics. I'm studying mathematics at the university. So I'm graduating this year. I'm also an AI futurist and a tech conversationist who is passionate about making technology reach Africa as a whole, and those people that are not rich, that technology reach them. So for now, this is about myself for now. Not go far.
Very, very good. Onwuka, thank you very much, Onwuka, for joining us today, for giving us some of your time. And we look forward to a lot of collaboration with you. As you go through this year with us, and we'll get to the next book later on, think about what you might want to write about, okay? Osinakachi, I'm going to turn to you. I have not met you before. I'm Mike DeVerde. I did a very long spiel on what the group does. We are recording, so you'll have the opportunity to watch this recording on YouTube to catch up on what you missed, okay? But please, for those of us who don't know you that well, tell us about what you're doing, what you're interested in, and why you're joining the group. Go ahead.
Hi. Let me know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, so hello, greetings everyone. So my name is Nakachi. Akumakalo, Igbo by birth and origin. I'm based in South Africa, but currently I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. So I'm a futurist, and but who over time have developed keen interest on biophilosophy, and I've been pushing the boundaries on longevity, that the boundaries against biological aging and age-related diseases in Africa. So I am the founder and board chair of an organization, a company called TAFS, Transdisciplinary Agora for Future Discussions. So we got incorporated in the United States in 2018, and over time we spread. So our head office now is in South Africa. So we also in Kenya, Nigeria, and we have head of markets in over 15 African countries. So we've been working on Academy of the Future. We have an academic journal that we need people, experts to be part of. We have Magazine of the Future. We have the Future News, where we have African Town Hall meeting, the future discussion shows, and other stuffs like that. So, but currently, our major program now we have strategic partnership with local universities, and our major project now is the Afro Longevity Project and the International Longevity Summit, Africa, which will be taking place. The second one will be taking place, in the University of Lagos here, and the date is October 11th, 9th, and the event is 10th and 11th. We did the maiden edition last year, the Cradle of Humankind, South Africa. So joining this group, I read around the group, and Tom and some other persons who told me about what is going on in this group, explained why the group is so important to what I'm doing. So I think I'm with like minds, people that would like to really champion certain programs in Africa, and people who are passionate about Africa. I call them Afro-fans. I've been in several groups where they tend to play down on people's ideas and vision, opinionated groups. But with the explanation I got from Tom, I think this is a nice group that is very inclusive and that accommodates diverse ideas and is passionate about humanity at large. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for that excellent discussion. I am actively looking for people across the planet for different opinions on how we should proceed, because I don't believe this is going to be an American only problem. This is a worldwide problem. I'll talk about America primarily because that's what I know. I do not know what the solution for Nigeria is, or Kazakhstan, or Laos, right? I mean, India has its own solutions, so does Bangladesh. Australia has a different one than Canada, Brazil. So I do want to continue to expand this because that's going to inform the options. Now, his topic was part of what Asinakachi was talking about was longevity. I'm very involved in homelessness issues here. Got a very good partner who's a social worker here in a local city. One of my areas of research on homelessness, and David Wood has written pretty extensively about this, deaths of despair. Some of the components of the decline in white middle-age longevity in America had to do with things associated with homelessness, loss of job, loss of income, loss of prestige. Some of it's addiction, but that's not the primary problem. And so when we look ahead and we think that there might be an economic singularity, the effects on longevity can't be ignored. If you're homeless, you lose roughly 10 years of life. As you would imagine, the weather, the lack of healthcare, the lack of good food, exposure. These are all things that detract from your length of life. So anyway, this has a whole lot more to do than just can I buy the next car or a TV or my smartphone. This is not just a financial issue coming at us. This is a direct threat to longevity. Okay, so we got now two hands. So I got to stop babbling. Thank you for your introductions, gentlemen. Maura, you've been very patient. What's on your mind, my friend?
Thank you. I have two topics. The first one is regarding the tracking system, right? Everything that we're doing working smarter, no harder. So one question that I have is podcast, every single activity that's been done, what are the goals? Are we hitting the goals? Are we doing call to action? That means in every single one, are we attracting new members? That's my first point.
Yeah, let me address that immediately. Just to remind everybody, this group is invitation only, and the purpose is not to grow. In fact, I'm kind of an anti-growth person, you'll find. I want to grow slowly with quality, with people who have the right way of interacting. Okay, if I invite 50 people on and 40 of them are Reddit bombers who like to insult each other, it'll destroy the group. And the reason I made this private invitation only is I originally started this discussion on Discord Live and in Facebook Live. And I got all kinds of people who just would not have a civil conversation about it. Okay. The other thing is, I didn't want to be trapped by any particular set of political constraints. Everybody's got a platform. Transhumanist Party has a platform. I want to be able to pick other solutions other than what we're constrained to do as part of our party platform. Okay, so Maura, we're not trying to grow quickly just to grow. To answer your question, we are looking for people who have insights and interests, intelligent thought patterns, and suggestions. So what's your other question?
Yeah, I understand quality over quantity at the same time, right? To expand the message worldwide, at least the people that are in maybe know other people that we can all trust and that can assist us, because it's a lot. And yes, it's quality over quantity. That's my only point on that one. The other point is regarding empathy. The future of leadership is empathetic leaders. So I'm all in empathy. My only thing is like kind of like outsmart a little bit machines. We also need to focus on communication, empathy, listening, critical thinking, all these other topics that might outsmart artificial intelligence. And knowing all of that, we can keep jobs. So kind of every person that I'm in touch with, when I say, you know, the two advices I give you in life, study digitalization, anything regarding to digitalization, and invest in education. They're my two tips for everybody. So that's all I wanted to say. I think also in the different podcasts and topics, we need to get into the other pieces on how to smart AI and keep our jobs.
One comment about the podcast is we do somewhat have to tailor our topics to the style of the podcast. And I dearly love my friend Kriston T. Harris, but he does like a little bit of excitement and esoterics and some liveliness to it. This is not a BBC introspective, okay? So some of the topics are going to be kind of out there just to keep people entertained. I mean, it's infotainment. It is also an examination of some of the challenges of our time. Daniel Tweed, join us. What do you have to say, my friend?
Hey, thanks. Couple questions. So I'm going on the rundown on Tuesday at 3. Looking forward to that. And someone told me that Kriston actually came close to getting the nomination for the USTP national office.
Yes.
Could I?
Yeah, let me explain it. Yeah, let me explain it real quick. 4 years ago, there was a slate I think it was 6 or 8 different candidates who ran, and he was kind of late to joining the race. I had already committed to somebody else, Rachel Haywire, believe it or not.
Get some new hot mics. Please mute.
I think that I'll get him. I get him. I know who it is. So anyway, yes, he was running for presidential candidate of the USTP 4 years ago. He did not win, but he was a very, very compelling candidate. And unfortunately, the one we picked was turned out to be a cannibal, so that didn't work out. Okay, so seriously, did you have another question besides background on
Yeah,
Kristan?
I want to welcome our African participants, and it occurs to me that Afrofuturism and the human potential of Africa is immense. The greatest resource is the human resource. And I have a friend who's very big on, he's a Mormon, and he's very big on Mormon history. And he says, how did the Mormons conquer this rough frontier with, people that their only asset was their hearts were beating and their lungs were working. And what they essentially did was they loaned each other productive tools and then let people pay off the loans by the productivity of the tools. And the Mormons accomplished this with a lot of different mechanisms besides that. By the way, my friend calls this percentages you earn finansurance, and he's written all kinds of papers on that. But the maker movement is kind of one thing, but I think the Mormons have a tithing 10%, and there's no abjectly poor Mormons. They have this amazing social support structure that I think could be emulated in a secular way. You don't need the kooky belief system, although I think the Mormon transhumanist movement is pretty interesting as well. I'm kind of interfaith transhumanist scholar, I guess. So what I think we need to do is keep it tied somehow to not just your lifetime Dunbar tribe, which is the 150 people you can form close bonds with this, according to anthropologist Robin Dunbar at Oxford, who studied primates. Fluctuates to 150 to 200 people. But I think there's a location tribe too, the 150 people that are nearest you, that you have empathy and trust with. And I think those are the people you can form these time banks and virtual and actual maker spaces with. And we really need to transition from a debt-based economic instrument economy to an energy and location-based economy. And we can do that with things like geospatial informatics, GIS systems. We can do that with a kilowatt-hour-based money, energy-based money, like Bucky Fuller talked about. I think Bucky Fuller, he talked about omni-advantaging, and that seems like a great definition of omni-futurism. It's not living at the expense of anyone else, creating a system where, no one's taking advantage of or living at the expense of anyone else. And maybe that's like Star Trek economics, but I think you're right. There is going to be this lacuna. I'll use that Tom Ross' favorite word of time, this 10-year restructuring period, where it's going to be like the Great Depression. Probably there's going to be a lot of displacement, a lot of basic needs being unmet, and we can use this group to jumpstart a lot of these ideas and initiatives. I think that's kind of, to narrow down the focus of the group is like you expressed it perfectly earlier. So yeah, those will wrap up my comments for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Let me say that if you heard my earlier comment that Kristan is looking for a variety of topics, you will have no trouble with that, will you?
Too many.
Okay. All right. Alan?
Just a quick note. I heard that there's 2 folks from Lagos, Nigeria. So if y'all are in the same area, take big advantage of that. I mean, we've got people spread all over here from Canada to Texas and all the way to Africa. And yeah, if you're as close as the same city, find each other and build bridges. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
What I'd like to do now is there's been a group of silent folks, I'm gonna just ask you if you wanna chime in on anything in particular. My good friend Ben Ballwig, do you wanna say anything at this point, Ben? No? Okay. Yeah, I saw it. Okay. Art Ramon, what's on your mind today, my friend?
Okay, luckily I took notes. Yeah, the audio version, is that something we're still going to pursue? The audiobook?
Yes.
Okay. When, for the next version or the current version?
Well, we got to talk to our managing editor who's been kind of just, coasting along. And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Ghosting ain't the word for it, but yeah, yeah.
We need to work the paperback and the audiobook. I see Ben raising his hand. He is now interested in saying something.
Prime has an automatic audio generation thing for books, so we really don't have to do an audio version of our own. We can just let people figure out how to do it on an audio book on their own.
Can it
Just
mimic
saying.
or speech? Does it do that?
I had my book and my blind friend knew about it and he's like, man, I just found your book online and I never did an audio book, but Amazon could do it for him somehow.
Okay.
So
I think I've heard of some programs that actually can mimic your speech. So you can,
Well, okay, so there's a couple topics real quick. Some of us do want to record it. And so I've already recorded mine. I've already done that. And I may do it again, but it should be chapter by chapter, author decides. There's a lot of people who do not want to read it, and therefore we'll just feed it into the machine. If anybody has been listening to David Shapiro with Claude, he picks some English professor accent, and the weird thing is you hear this machine breathing. He takes an inhale before every phrase. He's got inflection, and it is not a robot. It is not talking like this. It was beautiful. Okay. So that's something to, I like this idea of the audio book. I want a paper book, back book. Go ahead, Art. What's your other, you got a long list here.
social media. I've created a lot of content and hardly anyone shares it. And sharing is free. I mean, it costs nothing to share. And no one hardly ever likes it. No one shares it. As people in our group, I mean, I have a lot of friends on Facebook and I get very little engagement. So, and I'm talking about TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, very little engagement. And that's practically free. Everyone from our group should be sharing my content, no matter how shitty it is, so I can get feedback on making it better. So that's one thing I've noticed is very poor social media engagement.
I'm going to agree with him, and I've been able to like quite a number of yours, but as far as sharing, you're right, and I'm just flooded. I'm barely surviving the workload, but very good points. Very good points. I think Moro would be quite disappointed in our lack of cohesive application of a process for social media. So you've got a very good point. Guilty. Go ahead, Art. What else is on your mind?
So like countries in Africa, I mean, a lot of people, I'm not sure what percentage of the population is online, but I know the other group I'm involved with, Transhuman Coin, is going to be sponsoring a TV show. I'm blanking out on the name, but it's going to be some sort of Big Brother type show. So I'm going to see if I can maybe finagle some of our thoughts and ideas from this group into that group. So
good, very good. What else is on your list, my friend? I'm not going to break up. You're done.
That's it for now. So
it's good. Excellent. You're raising your hand. Go for it, dude.
Okay. It's concerning the book. Actually, the book. If we are to translate the book into different languages in Africa, I would like to say if we are to be able to do this in terms of getting some organizations who are willing to do that on a free will, are we allowed to, or are they allowed to, put in the name of their organizations on the book, just like as a support to this? So that is one. And also, if we are going to do that, it will have to be like, we need to like have an official introduction, kind of introducing our vision to as futurists to these organizations in Africa. Some organizations, with a letterhead seeking for, them to be, because in Africa, actually, to penetrate into diverse languages, we have, multiples of languages, Africa, so a lot of, countries. So for us to dive into and to penetrate well, translating from English to different languages is okay, but it will be more easier if organizations on their own that are in Africa, help us to move this in a way of getting across to every nook and cranny in Africa. So because these organizations, they know where and how to get, people, sensitize them on, just like my own organization as an NGO will do that, will support in this. But, will not be able, as an organization on our own, will not be able to do this alone. We also need other hands to join us, to partner with us. So that is why I'm saying it will be more better if we have a kind of a letter from OmniFuturists so that we can table across to some organizations to seek partnership with them so that they can, help us to. I myself too, I will also seek out to some persons that I know they are good in some languages in Africa to seek for, their partnership with this vision. So that is what I want to say.
Excellent. That was very good points. I'm going to ask Laura and Alan to be making notes on this. Now, what we want to do is we do want to construct a proper letter that introduces us. Very simple, introduces us and our goals, gives explicit permission for open source publishing in any language, because we have agreed internally, all of the authors have agreed to this. So it's just make it explicit so that there's no worry of somebody coming back later and saying that it was stolen. Okay, we want to make sure it's upfront and very straightforward. This would probably be useful for Dr. Sharif as well. Now, although Dr. Sharif is already familiar with translating it, different books. And so, excellent, we will work on that. The answer to your first question is absolutely. What we would probably do is include a new preface in the book that explained what we're doing in English, right?
Okay, yeah.
Our title page, our authors, and then part of the preface will be saying, and this is open source and you are free to read this in and translate it. And you owe us $0. We don't want any money. We do not want money for this, okay? Now, you can sell it. You can use it as a fundraiser for NGOs. You can use it for your own private profit. If you want to make money in your own company, that's fine. We're not out to make money off this thing. If you want to make money, that's fine. But we owe you some introductory letters so that you can, and once we construct this, and it'll take us a while. Okay, I'm sorry, I got way too many things going on, but once we get this letter constructed, we're going to be asking you for suggestions on, well, which NGO should we talk to? I think Osinakachi Talu with his TAFS group is one of the instruments of introducing us to various organizations within Africa. you may have
Okay.
other people in mind. Okay, so I think we'll work on that. That is a great suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, Mike Achera, you had your hand up. You're next.
Okay, and I forgive me, I may be offering something that's been discussed a lot since I'm new to the group. I don't know. I'm coming at it both from Mike. You're from aerospace, right?
Yes.
And from Boeing, right?
Yeah.
I'll pray for you.
Well, let me do a real quick version of my career. 40 years of aerospace. I just got my 15th patent the other day.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
I started at Douglas Aircraft. I went to McDonnell Douglas Space Systems, then to Northrop,
Mhm.
and then SpaceX, and then Boeing in Pacific Northwest. And
Wow.
it's 9 projects, 2 rockets, 2 spacecraft, 2 Navy fighter jet, two Navy jets, 2 passenger jets, and a freighter.
Wow.
So yeah, I am aerospace, University of Illinois, aeronautical.
They're
and
good. They're still
economic-
good.
Yeah, yes, right.
We actually work with them. Our company works with the U of I's aerospace people.
Yeah, very good. Okay,
Yeah.
Mike, you asked me a quick question
So,
and then it went on and on and on. Go
So
ahead.
I wanted to relate it to you specifically in your background and to who's the fellow with the big beard, the transhumanist VP?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
he gone now?
Dan.
Dan. To Dan's
Dan
comment
Dean.
about Bucky Fuller, because I'm thinking as and I'm a product developer, so bear with me here. But have you guys ever considered gamifying Bucky Fuller's idea of the world game, making it a scenario generator in AI and using AI, the tool you're kind of afraid of, maybe, but use it to our advantage to actually create scenarios where we put in the inputs like world communism or transhumanist presidency, but more specifically, carbon credentials or whatever people are talking about, put those inputs in and let the computer run the scenario. And like a wind tunnel at Boeing, yeah, these ideas are good until we put them in the wind tunnel and find out how good your theory is, right? So kind of with the rigor of engineers, with the rigor of coders, create a gamification scenario that actually, they don't have to be in your in-group here, but for people out there, they can play with the product of our generation game. You know what I mean? Like I see this as a product that could be very compelling and actually get the message out that like these are viable ideas and the game shows how viable they are. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, that is quite an idea. I really like this. I'm sad that Jason Geringer isn't here today because he's one of these who loves the wisdom of the crowd. The AI gamification, this is really interesting approach. When we were talking about Delphi method, you just maybe at the very beginning of the recording, you'd hear Alan groaning about the analysis that he has to do, looking through human responses to questions about the economic singularity, right, for his Delphi method. And I tell you what, 2 years ago, we would have laughed if somebody had said, hey, give this complex problem to the AI and see what they barf up. You know, this is very intriguing, Mike. I like it.
If you I always think about movies, right? So you guys remember War Games, right? The movie War Games, where every scenario caused World War III when they had the computer running through all the scenarios. But I think that people are intrigued by AI is going to win in the sense that people are just intrigued by it. I didn't know, did you guys I just recently learned this, that when the movie The Wrath of Khan came out, it was the first time humanity got to collectively see an active fractal algorithm creating CGI when they did the transplanting of the Genesis project. That was made by a guy from Boeing who worked with the guy who created the fractal geometry. So, I'm of the generation of fractals, right? And I think people are just intrigued by, well, AI come up with it. We put all the information in. Will this save the world? Is Elon right? What if we put his ideas in place in all these other sectors too? Or is it horrible? So I think gamification might be an interesting topic. That's all I want to say. I'm sorry, I'm back on again, but
no, and let me please request from you that if you could do a several paragraph summary of what you just said. I know we have the recording. I don't have enough coffee in my veins to have digested what you just unloaded. I like it.
I could comment quickly on gamification.
Yeah.
I'm a ham radio licensee, extra class KK6 VDR, and they call it radio sport in other parts of the world because it's kind of treated like a sport. People seeing how many long distance contacts they can make if they can activate a park. There's parks on the air, they get summits on the air. So there's this big community of a couple million people that already do kind of this worldwide high-tech gamification. And I have kind of a twist on that to get more people into the hobby. There's something called a QSL card, which is like a proof of contacts. It's like you got the contact, then you mail out a postcard that's got little decorations on it that have your personal station call sign and maybe some graphics that are fun. So this would be a great thing to do for people that aren't in the amateur radio community. Have these kind of just QSL cards that are laminated waterproof pieces, like 4x6 postcards with whatever kind of stuff they want to communicate. And are you familiar with the Little Free Library movement? People put these little, small leave a book, borrow a book kind of things on their front lawn, kind of adjoining the sidewalk. So I'm thinking these cards could go in an even smaller version of the Little Free Library, kind of something like a little stake that they put like a plant to identify plants. There's those little metal stakes that have the placards. So if we just got that kind of going as a way to do interesting gamification stuff, because early on in our Ross Tweed campaign, we talked about a trading card game, and there was some interesting progress made, but it kind of stalled out. But what I was really thinking about is exactly like the world game. Yeah, we want to make this a real world, neighbor to neighbor, peer to peer archiving and community involving kind of gamified thing. So anyway, I hope I didn't. What was your name that made the Bucky Fuller world game comment?
It's Mike. Yeah. And the whole idea of Bucky talked about how Einstein introduced the idea of scenario thinking, right? So I think people are intrigued by, and that's what games are, is pretty much scenarios, right? Like whether it's Call of Duty or whatever, you're in a scenario. And the fact, so I think if we created scenarios like, and we give people like, for instance, the communists or capitalists, we gave them their inputs, right? I'm going to get my way in this scenario and see what it extrapolates out 10, 12, 20, 50 years ahead, right? To me, that'd be interesting. So, but I like to see it as a actual visualization, like a real video game. That's what I was thinking.
Anticipatory design science.
Exactly.
They're calling it. But yeah, as a community science director, I want to make science gamified. And, just collecting data is a precursor to doing all kinds of interesting science. So, these little QSL cards from science, you could say, so yeah.
Well, it fits into the whole large language model idea too. The more people start inputting the data, right? The better supposedly the better the model gets. So we start fine tuning a virtual world, and then we say, well, should we fly in parallel with that fine tuned virtual world, since it seems to be doing so well with all these programs in place that seem to have, right? So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the analogy I keep coming back to is 1.4 billion years ago, life went from single cellular to multicellular, and what caused that to happen? What made cells not just go toward things that helped and away from things that hurt, but got them cooperating at these immense, complex, aggregations. And I think we're at a similar branching point in evolution where we're going from like multicellular to quantum cellular. I don't know what you would want to call it, but so yeah, we're excited to be exciting time to be alive.
We'll come to you in a second, Maura. So Alan, and David Patterson, I've got an idea here is, what they're talking about seems to fit into the Cliodynamics group more. And let me explain that for a second. On Friday afternoons, a few of us get together to talk about 3 topics at the moment: super forecasting, Cliodynamics, and Delphi method. And it was a matter of short-term forecasting, long-term forecasting, and then evaluation of plans. And these were 3 more or less scientific methodologies for future planning and evaluation of those plans. This suggestion from Mike Achera might fit in very well with that, and may bring those old techniques into the future. So it's by interest level. People who want to get involved with cliodynamics being a new science of history, or super forecasting being a very disciplined technique in which people are evaluated and then selected for their ability to forecast events in the next year, both of which have books that we've read. They're not flaky guesswork. There's some science behind it. And then, of course, Delphi method has an approach on the order of technocratic, right? It's a technocratic methodology of evaluating something. So anyway, I'm going to suggest that we consider adding that on as a topic as we move forward. Maura, you've waited very patiently. What's on your mind?
No, no, all good. I've been working in patience, so now I am patient. Everything that I was not before, I am now. I'm transforming. So no, I just want to say that I included in the chat a few of the links, and I just want to say thank you. I am glad that I came to the meeting. I'll catch up with Alora. I'll send her emails, but very, very nice to see so many new faces and all my colleagues of before. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Are you headed out? Oh, I guess
I need to
are you
leave.
leaving?
I need to go. I need to go to the errands, but
Okay. It was great to see you again.
me too with my camera. Even I'm a mess, but I am family. So-
Take care.
okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. Nice to see you all. Bye.
I gotta make sure that this isn't showing anything. This Boeing works, so I just realized the screen is up, which. There we go.
So what else are we discussing?
Go ahead.
What else are we discussing? We have talked about the economic singularity, how to effectively penetrate transhumanism in Africa and beyond. So how are we going to do it? What is our plan? Do you understand towards that?
Part of that I didn't hear very well because I was walking around. Try it again, please.
I said, with all we have discussed, how do we go about everything that we have said so far? You understand? Actions speak louder than words. Do you understand? So we need to put in action so that we can achieve our objectives at the end of the day. Instead of we just talking. When are we going to do this? So that we know that okay, this is what we are realizing at the end of the day.
Yes.
So because actions speak louder than words.
Right. No, that's right. Earlier when I was discussing my plans, I said that it's not even close to enough to just talk or even to write. We do have to have action. The question is, what sorts of action do we want to take? And therefore, some of us are actually beginning pilot projects. Some people in the group, remember, it's a lot of different opinions. So some people believe that what we need to do is get government to do something, okay? That's one approach, is get the United Nations or your country or your local government to start preparing. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Just part of my pessimism is the country I live in, I think, will wait until disaster is 3 or 4 years old before it does something. Therefore, I am not counting on any government in my approach. If you read my chapter in the book, I'm talking about preparing what are typically called market farms. The idea is that you collect a small group of families who are unemployed, get them together and help them establish self-sufficiency so that they co-work and co-house together. The old word for this was distributism. It's actually an old Roman Catholic approach. It is now called the new economy. And there are groups in Europe and in America that are looking at the new economy as an approach. So I have two things that I'm looking at. One is a pilot project for locally grown food here with the, and I'm going to, my personal plan is a farm worker owner co-op. It's going to be called the Agri-Foresters Guild. That's in work. At the same time, there's got to be some approach to housing. And I'm imagining millions and millions of folks being suddenly unable to pay for rent. And so one of the kind of recent approaches is very, very small shelters that are made basically right now out of fiberglass panels that are assembled in about 30 minutes. They come with their own electricity, lighting, heating, and cooling. They're relatively inexpensive. They're very small. They're called pallet shelters. The twist that I'm putting on it is those are made out of petroleum-based materials, and I've done composite designs for about 25 years, probably about 40 years now. I'm very comfortable with composite designs. My suggestion is for a biomaterial, bioplastic version that includes biochar. And why would I do all this? Well, instead of sucking oil out of the ground and converting it to plastic, wouldn't we be better off using the carbon that's above ground already to create some of these composites? And then biochar is a well-known methodology for long-term. I'm gonna silence you for a little while, and we'll, because of all the noise. Let's see if that worked. There we go. And the biochar will sequester carbon for literally hundreds of years. All right. So I've got two projects that I'm starting. They're very small scale. I think you'll find that I'm not interested in doing anything fast, just to go fast. I'm not interested in growth, just to grow rapidly. I don't have to wait, though, until the economic singularity hits. America already has millions of people who are experiencing homeless. On the order of 2.5 million Americans every year check into a homeless shelter of some nature. So rather than waiting, my approach is going to be establishing bioplastics and biochar that would be useful in these pallet shelters, and then going to the company that makes these. It's in Everett. It's the same town I work in. They build these pallet shelters. They're deployed very successfully across America in homeless shelters. And it's far better than the big warehouse where you got hundreds of people packed in together. A lot of people get abused in those sorts of warehouse style. These are very small shelters. You have your own privacy and security. You lock your door at night and you're safe. Okay, so Anwuka, you asked a very good question. All this talk leads to nothing but hot air. What are we going to do? So I'm not going to try to impose on anybody my opinions of what the right solution is or what ought to be done. I don't look at this group as having to get together collectively to do one thing. Okay, thank you, Alan. Okay, he's in the chat giving me a hard time. I like that a lot. I take that compliment very well. I appreciate that. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. Okay, I really thought I had more time on Woka. Here's what I'm doing. I've identified where my good friend Alora lives in Saskatchewan, Canada, that her area grows a lot of linseed, a lot of flax. That's one plant with two names, right? Linseed oil plus
I get you.
fibers are very good for biocomposites. In Bangladesh, Dr. Sharif, they've got a lot of jute fibers, same in Brazil. We're evaluating different locations across the world and what they have available that might make good biomaterials, because the last thing I want to do is have Dr. Sharif cutting down crops of jute, making new biomaterial panels, and then shipping them across the Pacific Ocean. Okay, that's the wrong approach, right? We want to be able to build locally, use it locally, and then when you're done, that shelter has been used for 5 or 10 years and it's just starting to disintegrate, you just put it in a landfill on purpose, because the biochar in the bioshelter will be sequestering the carbon forever. That's kind of the construction of what my little project will be. Okay, so I'm going to stop because good David Patterson has his hand up. Go, David.
Thanks, Mike. I just wanted to point out also that the goal of the group is not necessarily to take direct action. And in fact, anything we could do is likely to have a small impact overall. So I think an equally important goal of the group and the goal of the book is to get people ready for what's coming, what the impact is going to be, the transition that we're going to go through, so that individuals are ready for that impact and are aware of what's going to happen. So that's probably I would think the primary goal of this group. Would you say so, Mike?
I think that was very good. I think that was a very good comment. So on WUCA, you know, I don't know about you, but at work, every time I ask a question, my boss will turn to me and say, "That's a very good question, Mike. What are you going to do about it?" Okay. And so a lot of people learn to not ask questions, because then they know that they're going to have the burden of solving the problem. On WUCA, what are you going to do about it?
I think with the necessary aid and logistics, we can achieve that. You know, everything boils down to logistics. You understand? If you are doing this, you need to check the level of logistics that you need to be able to reach out. You understand? So we need a logistics. If I have the aid and every other thing, I think it's possible via to do.
Well, I've got a question for you on WUCA. Can you write a chapter for the book? You know, how economic security applies to your specific country. Is that something you could do?
Yes, I can do it. Is it just chapter 1?
That's the first step. That's the first step, is doing something. And writing the chapter is taking that first step and then getting that information out there. But you know, that's what we've done. That's our first step, is to write a chapter, get our ideas into that book, and then get that book out there.
By the way, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Art, that is a fantastic segue. Okay, so Dave, you have your hand still up, or you have a new question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I wanted to welcome the new members from Nigeria. I've thought quite a lot about the impact of the economic singularity on underdeveloped countries. I think it's something that there could be a chapter in the book about, and maybe one of our members from Nigeria or collaboratively could think about pursuing that. One observation in general that I'd like to make about the impact on underdeveloped countries, that there will be more on the positive side and less on the negative side. And I can give one example. For example, there is one doctor for about every 300 Americans, whereas there is one doctor for every 10,000 Ethiopians. So we're moving toward a point where every telephone, every computer will have a doctor in it, essentially. You'll have your own personal physician, your own personal psychologist, who will be better in many ways than the best that you could find in any developed country. And so you'll go from 1 in 10,000 to 1 to 1. And so that's a much better upside for underdeveloped countries than it is for developed countries. And then on the downside, because of improvements in healthcare and AI, there's likely to be unemployment for doctors in developed countries. We'll no longer need one doctor for every 300 Americans, hopefully. In underdeveloped countries, however, since they're starting from a much lower base, there may actually be an increased demand for doctors compared to where they're at. So because of that more wide open upside, there's likely to be less of the negative impact that we're seeing from the transition in developed countries, because they're starting from a lower base of economic development. There's a lower number of professionals, there's a lower number of industrial workers, so they're likely to see employment growth compared to their current level.
I want to make one comment, and then we're going to go to the next topic. I'm going to add on to what David said. He was talking about the AI doctor in your phone. The other amazing change that's occurring is the development of very inexpensive and small biosensors. So, for instance, tracking your blood sugar levels if you happen to be diabetic. There's a series of these types of biosensors that are being developed that I think are right around the corner, so that you don't have to wait for an extensive series of lab tests to know something is happening, right? Okay, so let's go on to the next topic, which is, Art already introduced it. We will be starting to write the next book. The next edition is going to be worked on, okay? And so we've got a series of people who are already talking about writing a chapter, okay? So I want to make sure that people know that they've got the option, if they wish, to write a chapter for the book. If anybody is willing to put in there's quite a bit of effort involved, and one of the things we talked about the last time we got together is we're looking for continual improvement in the quality of the book. So our managing editor is Alan, of course. He will continue in that function. He's doing an excellent job. Ben Ballwig and Ada help him tremendously in the editing. So as we talk about this, I would like everybody to make sure to consider, do they want to write a new chapter? Now we're going to talk a little bit about the mechanics of it, okay? Last year, there was a little bit of a problem in that I wanted to end at the beginning of September to give plenty of time to prepare the book, and things drifted off towards Christmas time, which made Alan give up his holidays trying to get things done, okay? And we're not going to do that this year. Everybody can be writing their own chapter, and you don't have to clear with us what the topic is going to be. You can write about anything you want. And I think I proved that pretty much by insisting on Luis Arroyo writing about communism in his chapter, okay? We're very open-minded, and there's no limitation on the topics, okay? So please, if you've got something in mind, start writing. Now, there's a minimum level of quality that's required in the writing. It has to be on the order of a chapter. You're going to have plenty of people reviewing what you write to make sure that it makes sense. It's a logical set of comments, that you have some data to back up what you're saying. We're not going to allow you to speculate or just make things up. It's not a fantasy. It's not science fiction. Let's try to stay in the realm of reality. But we want to include as many opinions, as many chapters as people are interested in doing. Now, everybody has to understand you're not going to make a whole lot of money from this, okay? But then the other aspect of this is, when do we start? You start now, and you're writing. Alan is going to talk about what he does in his read and critique sections. He has a separate set of meetings that he runs, and we're going to start that. Alan, why don't you talk about that aspect of the schedule and what you do and what would be expected?
No small task there. And yeah, to answer excellent question. Yeah, we're writing now for 2025. So we released this one at the end of January, maybe the first week of February, and then and that's our plan, is to start out the new year with a new book, and that way we can keep it somewhat fresh, but also have time to revise and extend our remarks. Yeah, there are on the question of topics. If you have a topic and you are passionate about it, please write about that topic, because you know, your passion for your topic is much more important than many other factors. But if you're struggling for a topic, David Wood, in his introduction, or first chapter of this year's book, listed about 16 different things that remain uncovered in the AI and economic singularity landscape, and I can provide that list to you. Anyway, it's a great opportunity to kind of dovetail into the theme. If you're not sure how to proceed, they're excellent topics. Or you might look at the list and go, nope, I like my topic better, and then get on with your own topic, and that's fine. No obligation. We will start starting around May 15th. We'll start doing after May 15th, I guess. The read and critique, and that is basically write what you're going to write, edit it a little bit. And this is not for us to edit your content or supervise, what's going to go in the book, but just a way to have other people who are interested in the same topic listen to what you've written and offer friendly suggestions. Like, you might want to try saying that differently, or I was following along until you said, and then I lost track, or whatever. So these are kind of critiques that help us write better products. So to help you better express your ideas, that's really what it's all about. It also means we've all kind of looked at it a few times before, and it helps writers. I've found it helps me to have a deadline. If I know I'm going to read something in a couple of weeks, yeah, all right, I probably got to get something written. Write something, and if we tell you, ooh, that needs a lot of work or whatever, that could be cleaned up a little bit. Great. Well, hey, you don't have to tell us that. Oh, I did that an hour before the meeting. Go ahead, have something, right? But it gives you helps everybody stay moving forward with the project. And it's September, first weekend in September. When is that? First weekend in September is when we're wanting to have these essays done. Again, you don't have to write an entire book. It's a single chapter. So think, 40 pages or less. Certainly,
I think we were thinking on the order of like 6,000 words, because now you've got things that actually count the words for you, on that order-ish, right? It's not 50,000 words. It's not 500 words, chapter, right? And the problem with pages is, well, it depends on the size of the font and the size of the page, right? So just to give people a goal, right? So we'll start gathering in mid-May. You have to be done by the beginning of September, completed, and you're not going to touch it. You're going to respond to the edits, okay? And we'll meet weekly. You have a separate Saturday meeting, I believe. I think what we're planning to do is every other week, on the weeks where we had the late night session, the Pacific, earlier in that day, we'll have a read and critique. And that way we aren't interfering with the Atlantic meetings like today, okay?
Yeah, it'll be the opposite schedule. Instead of PAPA for Pacific Atlantic, it'll be APA or whatever.
And one other thing, I know of at least 5 people who are planning to write new chapters, maybe 6. So myself, I'm going to write a completely different chapter. I've already been writing it. Alora, Ben Ballwig, David Patterson, David Shapiro. We're going to take his book and compress it to a chapter, right? So, you know, there's already quite a sequence of people. There isn't necessarily a limit, but we're inviting people to write. And Woka, do you have something you want to say, dude?
Yes, I have something to say. I think it's a nice idea so that everybody will have part in the book. You understand? So that it will be a collective effort instead of being an individual effort. I think I'm just suggesting a title, Enradi the Emergence of the Economic Singularity. If you can title the name of the book, Enradi the Emergence of the Economic Singularity. I think I'm just suggesting the title of the book.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that suggestion.
Right.
Yeah, we haven't thought about the title at all yet.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a ways away. And by the way, we had just two contributions for the book cover. We're gonna allow anyone to enter for the book cover art. And we also have art within the book itself. So, you know, I'm a big proponent of AI art, right? I love Midjourney. So my chapter is peppered with way too many robot images. The book cover that we had for Future Visions, which is our current book, was artwork created with paint and brush by our good friend Art Ramon.
Sorry. Okay.
But yeah, and like Mike Kuchera, I know you're a formerly trained artist and an enthusiast for AI art also. So I'm looking for something from you too. Just whatever. Enter the fray. And and I'll even throw in a couple of stick figure drawings just for rounding out the competition.
So that's kind of the overview on that. The paperback, when Alan, I have to ask you because you're the guy, when do you think the paperback will be available on Amazon?
I'm aiming for June.
That's
into
fine.
June.
That's fine.
And I'm aiming to get my chapter written very early because I'm planning on another exercise. Mike Kuchera and I have a fiction book to finish. So I want to get busy on that too later in the year. So I don't want to drag out my writing of a chapter. So I will probably write it as quick as possible and then update it later if need be based on.
You guys would probably be in the book, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's intriguing.
Sorry, I want to say something
That's
before
scary
leaving.
too.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Anwuka. Go ahead. What?
Before leaving because it's late here. So
okay.
Can we just have? I'm just trying to give a description of the book. Can we just have eclipse, like sun coming together, trying to collide together? I'm just suggesting.
His audio broke up. I didn't understand.
The sun and an eclipse trying to collide. Like the sun trying to collide with an eclipse, something like that.
Okay, well, you're muted, Alan. I'm hearing a sun.
Since we are talking about economic singularity.
Yeah,
I think you better write it. I think you better write it.
An eclipse of the sun, like yes.
Eclipse of the sun.
Okay. Let me write it.
Send us a type. Hey, by the way, everybody should get into Discord. If you aren't in there yet, that's where you write stuff. This is our chat area, okay? And Luca, you said you've got to go. Thanks, dude. Thanks for joining us. Okay, man. Okay. Let's see. There was a audiobook. Alan, when do you think the audiobook would be?
Well, I don't know. You've got. I tell you what, we probably need to just start. Anyone who has an audio file, send it to me, And then we'll start building the rest of the audio file. I know you've read your chapter.
Yeah. Well, here's
And-
my suggestion. Here's my suggestion is we'll ask Laura to send an email to each of the authors with a simple question. Are you going to read your book, or do you want the computer to read your chapter? Okay. Get this out of the way, because all the ones who aren't going to read it, I think, oh boy, our other Canadian friend, is it? You're on mute, Alan.
I was going to say, if you hadn't said it like that, I'd remember his name.
Cam.
Cam.
Cam was one who said immediately he does not want to write or read his book. Okay, so let's get everybody to commit. Are they going to read it or not? Feed them through the computer on all the rest of them. I've already done mine. It'd be very interesting to see what David Wood says. One more comment about, I think we've covered all of that. So David Wood's chapter will remain always. I'm sorry, it just stays in the book no matter what.
Yeah, it's kind of an index chapter.
We'll add David Shapiro in. I want my original chapter to stay, but I'm going to write a new one, so I'm going to have 2 chapters. This thing's going to be really big, I think, once we get all done with this. Okay. So I think we've gone through the book, which was the last thing in the agenda. Let's go through the group and see if there's anything last that needs to be taken care of or discussed. Let's start with Dr. Sharif. You got anything, dude? You've been very quiet.
He fell asleep hours ago.
Yeah, it could be. He may be recording it, just to, okay. Excellent, Isaac. Do you have anything that you want to say after all this?
Yeah, what I want to say is concerning what Alan has just said regarding to what the 16 areas that David Wood made mention that I would like to know those areas, maybe to have let me just go through it to read it and to get to understand the 16 area we made mention.
Thank you.
So I will plead that if possible that Alan can send it to me, or maybe through my email address for me to go through it through the email.
Got it, Alan? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, please send me your email address.
No, actually, Alan, if you look in the emails I've been sending today.
Oh, okay.
Excellent, Isaac, Osinakachi Kalu, and Anwuka are all in the email.
Oh, okay. Super.
Okay, we're sharing each other's emails just so we can communicate together. I know that if anybody's really concerned about their privacy, you better tell me, okay? Because I'm not publishing it to the world, but within this group, we've got to be able to communicate. So, Ellen, if you can't find it, let me know and I'll give it to you. And excellent, we will get you that list of David Wood suggestions. Go ahead, Alan.
Okay.
No, that's what I was going to say. We got it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us, my friend. I'm looking forward to working with you for a very long time to come. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Dan. Dan, you have your hands up.
Yeah, I apologize for not being on Discord much. I've had access problems with my iPad became full and whatnot. But did the original stuff get archived that was in the first iteration where I was participating a lot? I know the whole OmniFuturists Discord page has been completely revamped, and
the old OmniFuturist Discord is still alive and well.
Oh, great, because that leads into my next thought. I think what really rocked my world was seeing the whole Earth catalog back in the 60s, and when that came out. I think we need a whole OmniFuturist catalog, and I'm willing to sort of curate this idea, because rather than just essays, I think we actually need hands-on, articles about cool stuff you can make and do, and sources and addresses and reviews and that kind of thing. So that would be a great companion to the ongoing editions of the OmniFuturist book.
I'll say that when I founded this, I was very emphatic. This was a single issue group. Okay, and I am starting to abandon that. And so if for me, the other things that I'm doing are aligned with the problem, but clearly not the same as a discussion group or an authors only group, right?
Right.
And the topics are expanding pretty rapidly outside of just the narrow issue of the economic singularity, right? So, Dan, I'm open to other suggestions on what we go. I mean, when I founded this, there was no way I thought we'd be trying to figure out how to build shelters for people. Okay. So, what we're trying to do is say to people, you have the liberty to proceed. You can tell, am at my limits on what I can do. Okay. Between work and this, I am right at the edge. Okay. So if you want to do that and you're suggesting it, then you, my friend, have to organize it. Okay. And we'll back you up. It sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a real need for something like that. And in the words of Dirty Harry Callahan, a man's got to know his limitations.
Okay, Mike Achero, what's on your mind now?
So I've been on book committees like for my kids' Catholic school, which was our curriculum committee, which was a nightmare because we couldn't agree on what success looks like. Baseball coaches have the wonderful thing of they have stats. They can go look at baseball little leagues in Ohio and in Nebraska, and they can see the stats, so they know what a good baseball player who's age 12, how his RBI is, how he can look at the stats. He understands. As an aeronautical engineer, if you want your plane to have certain performance, certain ceiling, certain safety, speed, whatever, you know the stats you need to be looking at, right? You have a goal in mind. But when it comes to things so qualitative as like what success looks like for human life, right? If we're talking about the future and about solving problems, it seems to me that we have to get down to some assumptions about, well, what is success? Not having work, is that necessarily a bad thing? I would argue no, because we don't buy products so people can have jobs. We don't give a shit about that. Right. And maybe it'd be better if we didn't have jobs, because then I can't believe if there's a God, God put us on earth to work in a cubicle or on a garbage truck. That's not why God put us here. So I'd argue that we can speculate about our higher purpose. It's hard. Baseball coaches have it easy in a sense because they have the stats. They know what success looks like. So if I wrote a chapter for your book, I think I'd want to approach it about that. Like these are some deep issues, and my wife's on city council, and like, it's hard to get a group of cats that are people to decide on what success looks like. It really is. Even at the local subsidiarity level, it's hard to get people to agree on what success looks like, even in a town. That's all I wanted to say.
No, I think that's marvelous. Exactly what you're saying. I agree completely with it. One of the things on my mind is I agree with Tom Ross that we should welcome the bots taking the jobs. Here's my problem. In an era of wealth inequality that we've gotten to an extreme level, there is a risk that the people who hold the keys to some of these AI companies are able to become trillionaires. And well, we have some gruel that we can eat. Don't complain or we'll take the gruel away. Okay, part of the problem here is getting a solution where people can be comfortable and enjoy their lives, because the wealth may become so concentrated with the automation technology that it's miserable for most humans. So it's not getting rid of the jobs, it's getting rid of the form of payment so that you can eat and have a house and some health care, right? That's the problem with the economic singularity. I would love to not have to drive into the office. Trust me. Okay. Okay. I love my job, but I'd be perfectly fine if I could be comfortable here as I am and not have to work. That's the risk. I love your idea on success. How do you measure it? The GDP measures that have ruled our evaluation of our success is not picking up really the quality of life, is it? There have to be better ways to measure how life is going. So very good comment. Let's see, David Patterson, you got any closing comments or thoughts? No? Had enough? We're at 2 hours. This has been a very good session. Art Ramon, you got anything left in you?
Oh, nothing left.
Okay, Alan, go for it.
I'm going to adopt Daniel Tweet's comment there. Rise and bots lifts all yachts.
That's good. I say we ended on that. Thank you, fellas. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the Atlantic cycle, right? You're welcome to come to the Pacific one if it's a good time for you. If you're confused about the times, let us know. And don't ask me 10 minutes before the meeting. Please ask me the day before, okay?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Could someone copy and paste the chat and email it to me? Because I can't do it on my device. And there's stuff in there that I want to save.
Yeah.
Let me see if I got it. Oh, brother. All I got was copy the chat. That ain't right.
I got it.
Thank you, Alan.
Ah,
Thank you, Art. Okay, so
Art to the rescue.
I'm clueless. Yeah, so thank you guys.
So yeah, see you
have a
next
great weekend.
Saturday. Great meeting.
Bye-bye.